Hello, and thank you for joining me once again for this brief devotional thought. While flipping through channels late night the other night, I ran across this black and white classic. It was The Blob. I had seen it before, but this one actually caught my attention because co-starring alongside a very young Steve McQueen was the lady who played Helen Crump on one of my favorite television shows, The Andy Griffith Show. Her real name is Anita Corsault, and here these two very young characters were trying to defeat the Blob. If you've never seen the Blob before, the premise is this: a meteor strikes the Earth. It's a small meteor, and an unfortunate victim gets this blob substance on its hand. And Steve McQueen and Helen Crump find him. They take him to the hospital where he is actually consumed by this blob, and then the blob proceeds to actually consume the doctor. Unfortunately, the only witnesses of this is Steve McQueen and Helen Crump. And as they go through trying to avoid the blob, trying to warn the town, no one believes them. But then the blob starts consuming other unfortunate victims and continues to grow and grow and grow. At the end, the blob just becomes relentless and unstoppable with a sole focus to take over the town. So why am I regaling you with my late night television discovery? Granted, it may be kind of an out there analogy, but in some ways, we need to take on some characteristics of the blob. Now, not the mindless, all-consuming characteristics, but the relentless pursuit. So I thought this as I was thinking about the blob later. What would happen if we as a group of Christians became so focused on saving just one person's soul, or just sharing the gospel in a real way with just one person in our life? What would the end result be in Chickasha? And then what would the end result be in our world? There was a stat that I saw on a game show the other day. It said if you start with a penny and double it every day, in 27 days, you would have over $1 million. The point is, if each Christian was so focused on just that one person, the end result would be an unstoppable force for God. Do you realize what kind of impact that would make on the world around us? What would happen if we saw Christianity take over in our leadership? Look at what would happen to our morality in the world. What would happen in our treatment of others, just because the love of Christ would drive us and then drive the people who we shared the gospel with. What would happen if we pursued salvation of others with the same drive, the same relentlessness that Christ pursues us with? Look at Luke chapter 15, verses 1 through 7. This is going to be a very familiar reading for many of you. Then all the tax collectors and the sinners drew near to him. And the Pharisees and scribes complained, saying, "This man receives sinners and eats with them." So he spoke this parable to them, saying, "What man of you, having 100 sheep, if he loses one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the one which is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he lays it on his shoulders, rejoicing. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and his neighbors, saying to them, 'Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep which was lost.' I tell you that likewise there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 just persons who need no repentance." What a powerful image and what a powerful parable. Christ's relentlessness took him to the cross for our salvation. Because of his love for us, his pursuit of us is relentless and his pursuit of us is unstoppable. Like the blob, I would like for the gospel of Christ to take over Chickasha. However, for us, it starts with just one person. First, we need to let the gospel of Christ take over our lives. Then we can choose just one person who is lost to pursue them relentlessly, to allow God's message to overcome their lives as well. So, there you have it, the lesson from the Blob. Thank you for taking 6 minutes to center with me today.